The ocean has always been a keeper of secrets, vast, silent, and hiding mysteries far beyond our reach. Beneath its waves lie stories untold, civilizations lost to time, and relics so strange they defy logic. Imagine stumbling upon an object so out of place, so inexplicable, that it rewrites what we thought we knew about history. That's the thrill of underwater archaeology, a field where every discovery feels like unraveling a piece of the world's greatest puzzle. From ancient cities swallowed by the sea to artifacts that shouldn't exist, the depths hold treasures far stranger than fiction. Think about it. How many times have we brushed the surface of the ocean, believing we've mapped its secrets, only to be humbled by what lies beneath? Each dive into the unknown is a leap into the past where the water preserves what the land has forgotten. And sometimes what we find doesn't just surprise us, it leaves experts scratching their heads. A dagger made of metal not known to exist in its time, a statue that mirrors cultures separated by continents, a machine-like device buried for thousands of years. These aren't just artifacts, they're riddles waiting to be solved, clues to civilizations we barely understand. Today, we're diving deep, literally into 25 of the most enigmatic relics ever pulled from the ocean's grasp. These aren't your typical shipwreck treasures or broken pottery. These finds challenge history, spark debates, and sometimes even haunt the researchers who uncover them. So if you're ready for a journey through time where every artifact has a story that defies explanation, then stay with me. Because what we're about to explore isn't just history, it's a mystery waiting in the dark just beneath the waves. The Antikythera Mechanism is one of those discoveries that makes you question everything we think we know about ancient technology. Found in a shipwreck off the coast of the Greek island Antikythera in 1901, this bronze device looks like something out of a steampunk novel, except it's over 2,000 years old. At first glance, it was just a corroded lump of metal, but when researchers carefully cleaned and examined it, they uncovered an intricate system of gears, dials, and inscriptions more sophisticated than anything else from its time. This wasn't some simple tool, it was a working model of the cosmos. The mechanism could track the movements of the sun, moon, and planets, predict eclipses, and even mark the dates of ancient athletic games like the Olympics. Think of it as an ancient Greek supercomputer, capable of calculations that wouldn't be matched for another 1,000 years. The precision of its gears is astonishing. Some are so finely cut that they resemble the craftsmanship of 18th century clockmakers. But here's where the mystery deepens. How did a civilization from the 1st century BC create something this advanced? We have no records of similar devices from that era, no mentions in historical texts, no other surviving examples. It's like finding a smartphone buried in a medieval castle completely out of place. And why was it on that ship? Was it a luxury item for a wealthy scholar or part of a larger collection of lost knowledge? Some theories suggest it came from the workshop of Archimedes himself, while others believe it might have been stolen war loot being transported to Rome. The real kicker, the Antikythera Mechanism wasn't just ahead of its time. It was so far ahead that when it was rediscovered, scholars initially assumed it couldn't possibly be ancient. It took decades of study, X-rays, and advanced imaging to finally unravel its secrets. Even now, we've only scratched the surface. Every new scan reveals more inscriptions, more functions, more proof that the ancient world was far more technologically savvy than we ever imagined. So next time you hear someone say the ancients were primitive, remember this device, because buried beneath the waves, waiting for the right explorer to find it, was a machine that rewrote history. And who knows, maybe there are more out there, still hidden, still waiting to challenge everything we think we know. Off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island lies something that shouldn't be there, a sprawling, angular structure so precise, so geometric, that it looks like the ruins of an ancient city swallowed by the sea. Discovered by a diver in 1986, The Yonaguni monument stretches over 250 feet long, with terraces, staircases, and what appear to be carved pillars, all resting nearly 90 feet below the surface. At first glance, it's hard to believe nature could create something so perfectly symmetrical. The edges are sharp, the angles unnaturally straight, and the terraced layers resemble man-made platforms. But here's where the debate gets heated. Some geologists argue it's just a bizarrely beautiful trick of nature, a sandstone formation shaped by tidal erosion over thousands of years. They point to similar rock formations on land, fractured along natural fault lines. Others, though, insist the precision is no accident, the monument's most striking feature. A massive, flat-faced wall that drops straight down like a facade, alongside what looks like a carved altar or ceremonial platform. Then there's the turtle, a rock formation eerily resembling the stylized turtles found in ancient Okinawan art. Theories about who built it, if anyone did, range from the plausible to the fantastical. Some researchers tie it to the Jaman people, a prehistoric culture known for advanced pottery and stone tools, who might have carved it when sea levels were lower. Others go further, linking it to lost civilizations like Mu or Lemuria, mythical lands said to have vanished beneath the Pacific. There's even speculation it could be part of a larger, undiscovered complex, a sunken city waiting to be mapped. What makes Yonaguni so fascinating isn't just its appearance, but its impossible age. If it is man-made, estimates place its construction at around 10,000 years old, long before any known civilization could have built something so monumental. That timeline alone forces us to reconsider human history. Could an advanced society have risen and fallen without leaving a trace except for this one enigmatic structure hidden beneath the waves? Diving at Yonaguni feels like stepping into a myth. The water muffles sound, the light filters down in shafts, and the monument looms like a ghost from another time. Whether it's nature's masterpiece or humanity's forgotten legacy, one thing's certain: this isn't just a rock. It's a riddle carved in stone, waiting for us to unravel it. The Baltic Sea anomaly is the kind of discovery that makes even seasoned scientists pause mid-sentence and stare at their screens in disbelief. In 2011, a team of Swedish treasure hunters was scanning the Baltic seabed with sonar when something impossible appeared. A massive, circular object nearly 200 feet across, with what looked like towering pillars, strange formations, and even what resembled a staircase. At first glance, it could have been mistaken for a crashed UFO straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster. The sonar images showed smooth, unnatural curves, geometric angles, and a long trailing scar in the seabed behind it, like it had skidded to a stop. Almost immediately, theories exploded. Alien spacecraft enthusiasts claimed it was proof of extraterrestrial visitors, pointing to its uncanny resemblance to the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Others suggested it might be a secret Nazi anti-submarine device lost during World War II, or even a submerged ancient temple from a forgotten civilization. But here's where things get even weirder. When divers finally reached the site, their equipment started behaving strangely. Compasses spun wildly, cameras malfunctioned, and communication devices cut out. Some reported feeling an eerie electromagnetic pull, as if the object itself was interfering with their gear. Scientists, meanwhile, remain sharply divided. Geologists argue it's just a glacial deposit, a rare but natural formation left behind by retreating ice sheets thousands of years ago. They point to similar, though less dramatic, rock formations found elsewhere in the Baltic. But critics counter that nature rarely creates such symmetrical shapes, let alone structures with what appear to be intentional lines and right angles. Then there's the mystery of the runway, a flat, elongated section stretching nearly 1,000 feet away from the object, as if something had dragged itself across the ocean floor. What's undeniable is the aura of strangeness surrounding this site. Samples taken from the Anomaly showed traces of metals not typically found in seabed formations, including limonite and goethite, which are often linked to ancient shipwrecks or volcanic activity. Yet no volcanic history exists in the area. Even the skeptics admit there's something odd here, something that doesn't quite fit into any neat scientific box. Whether it's a relic from an advanced ancient culture, a geological fluke, or something even more extraordinary, the Baltic Sea Anomaly refuses to give up its secrets. Every expedition raises more questions than answers, leaving us to wonder what lies beneath those dark waters, and why does it seem to resist our attempts to understand it? The waters of the Caribbean hold secrets that blur the line between myth and reality, and few are as hotly debated as the Bimini Road. Just off the coast of North Bimini Island in the Bahamas, this underwater formation stretches nearly half a mile, made up of massive, rectangular limestone blocks arranged in an eerily straight line. Discovered in 1968, it immediately sparked wild speculation. Was this a sunken highway from Atlantis, mentioned by Plato himself? The idea isn't as far-fetched as it sounds. The blocks, some weighing several tons, fit together with near-perfect seams, almost like pavement. Even more intriguing, the stone shows tool marks in places, suggesting human hands might have shaped them. But not everyone's convinced. Geologists point out that the Bimini limestone fractures naturally into right angles, creating the illusion of deliberate construction. They argue tidal movements could have shifted the blocks into place over centuries, and yet there's the problem of depth. The road lies in shallow water, around 15 feet below the surface. If this was just a natural formation, why doesn't anything like it appear elsewhere in the region? Some researchers propose a middle ground. Maybe ancient peoples used the natural stone, rearranging it into a functional structure like a dock or ceremonial causeway. Then there's the Cuban counterpart, discovered in 2001. Off the western tip of Cuba, a team of oceanographers mapping the seafloor picked up something astonishing on sonar: symmetrical, geometric shapes nearly 2,000 feet down. The images revealed what looked like stepped pyramids, circular plazas, and even road structures eerily reminiscent of Mesoamerican cities like Teotihuacan. The depth alone is baffling. For these ruins to be submerged, they'd have to be over 10,000 years old, from a time when sea levels were dramatically lower. Theories about who built them range from a lost branch of Maya civilization to a completely unknown culture swallowed by rising waters. Skeptics argue the formations could be ancient coral terraces or collapsed underwater cliffs, but the precision of the angles keeps the debate alive. Adding fuel to the fire, divers reported smooth stone surfaces with unusual carvings, though no official excavations have been conducted at such extreme depths. What ties these two sites together is more than just geography. It's the lingering question of human ingenuity. Could advanced societies have risen and fallen without leaving a trace on land, their legacies hidden beneath the waves? Or are we seeing nature's talent for playing tricks on us, crafting illusions that whisper of civilizations that never were? Every expedition to these sites seems to raise more questions than answers, leaving us to wonder what other secrets the Caribbean might be hiding in its blue depths. Off the coast of modern-day Alexandria, beneath the Mediterranean's turquoise waves, lies a city so magnificent it was once thought to be legend: Heracleion. For over 1,000 years, this thriving Egyptian port existed only in whispers, mentioned in ancient texts and fragmented inscriptions. Then, in the year 2000, marine archaeologist Frank Gaudio and his team made a discovery that stunned the world. Heracleion wasn't a myth. It was real, preserved in eerie perfection under layers of sand and silt, its treasures frozen in time. The scale of what they found is staggering. Imagine towering statues of pharaohs and gods, some standing over 16 feet tall, their faces still eerily intact despite centuries underwater. Gold coins, jewelry, and ceremonial objects littered the seafloor, so densely packed that divers compared it to swimming through a sunken museum, one of the most breathtaking finds. A massive stone stele, a decree from Pharaoh Nectanebo I, inscribed with hieroglyphs that confirmed the city's identity beyond doubt. But Heracleion wasn't just a religious center, it was the beating heart of Mediterranean trade. This was where Egyptian grain, Greek pottery, and Phoenician glass flowed through bustling docks, where merchants haggled under the shadow of temples dedicated to Ammon and Hercules. The city's wealth was unparalleled, its influence stretching across continents. Then, around the 8th century CE, disaster struck. Some blame a series of earthquakes that liquefied the Nile Delta's soft soil. Others point to rising sea levels, swallowing Heracleion inch by inch until the waves claimed it entirely. Whatever the cause, the result was the same: a metropolis vanished, its memory fading into myth. What makes Heracleion so haunting isn't just its grandeur, but the suddenness of its demise. Archaeologists found ships still anchored in their ports, their cargo holds filled with untouched goods. Statues lay where they fell, as if the sea had swallowed the city in a single, catastrophic gulp. Even the smaller details tell a story: a child's toy buried in silt, a set of perfectly preserved scales used by merchants, the delicate remains of a fruit basket, its contents carbonized but still recognizable. The real mystery: why did it take us so long to find it? The answer lies in the very forces that destroyed it. The Nile's shifting sediments buried Heracleion deep, hiding it from even the most determined treasure hunters. Modern technology, side-scan sonar and magnetometers, finally pierced the veil, revealing a snapshot of ancient life frozen in time. Every artifact pulled from the murk forces us to rethink what we know about Egypt's connection to the wider world. Standing on the deck of Godio's research vessel, watching divers surface with yet another artifact, you can't help but wonder, how many more cities like this lie hidden beneath the waves? Heracleion is proof that the ocean doesn't just erase history, sometimes it preserves it, waiting for the right moment to give up its secrets. The Mediterranean has always been a crossroads of civilizations, but few discoveries capture the sheer opulence of Bronze Age trade like the Uluburan shipwreck. Resting nearly 150 feet below the surface off the coast of Turkey, this 3,300-year-old time capsule was found by a sponge diver in 1982, and what lay inside would rewrite our understanding of the ancient world. Imagine a ship so laden with riches that every scoop of sediment revealed another astonishment: gold chalices inlaid with precious stones, ivory cylinders carved with intricate hieroglyphs, amber beads from the Baltic, and stacks of tin ingots, the vital ingredient for bronze arranged like a puzzle across the seabed. This wasn't just a merchant vessel, it was a floating treasury. The cargo list reads like an inventory of a king's ransom: ebony from Egypt, ostrich eggs from Africa, glass ingots in vibrant cobalt and purple, even a gold scarab bearing the name of Nefertiti herself. But the real revelation was the sheer geographic reach of these goods. Here, in one sunken hull, lay proof of a globalized network stretching from Scandinavia to Mesopotamia, connecting empires that historians once thought had only distant, tenuous ties. The Uluburan ship wasn't just carrying goods, it carried the DNA of cultural exchange, the kind that shaped languages, technologies, and even political alliances. Who were the people aboard this floating palace? The wreck's personal artifacts hint at a cosmopolitan crew. A merchant's stone balance scale, a soldier's dagger with a gilded hilt, and Canaanite jars still stuffed with olives, figs, and pomegranates, provisions fit for nobility. One theory suggests the ship was a royal gift, perhaps a dowry for a politically strategic marriage between kingdoms. Others believe it belonged to a wealthy trader operating under the patronage of a pharaoh or Hittite king. The presence of Mycenaean swords and Cypriot pottery only deepens the intrigue, pointing to a voyage that may have linked the courts of three competing superpowers. Yet the greatest mystery isn't what the ship carried, it's how it sank. The wreck lies perfectly preserved, its cargo meticulously stacked with no signs of fire or battle damage. A sudden storm, a navigational error, or something more sinister like piracy cut short by a rogue wave, the answers may lie in the ship's construction itself. Analysis of its cedar planks revealed a hybrid design, blending techniques from Syria, Egypt, and the Aegean. This was a ship built by collaboration, a testament to the very connections that doomed it when those cultures later clashed in the Bronze Age collapse. What makes Ulubur unforgettable isn't just the treasure. It's the intimacy of the artifacts, a wooden writing tablet with its wax long melted away, a single blue glass bead trapped between stones, a carpenter's adze left mid-repair. These objects whisper of lives interrupted, of a voyage that never reached its port. They remind us that history isn't just about empires and battles, but about the people who moved between them, their stories now suspended in salt and time. In the middle of the Pacific, where the ocean stretches endlessly in every direction, lies a ruin so bizarre it defies logic, Madol. This ancient city, built atop a coral reef off the island of Pohnpei, isn't just mysterious, it's downright otherworldly. Picture a labyrinth of nearly 100 artificial islands, crisscrossed by narrow canals and towering basalt walls, all constructed from stones so massive that locals swore they were placed there by magic. And when you see the scale of it, you start to wonder if they might be right. The first thing that strikes you about Madol is the sheer audacity of its construction. The city's walls are made of hexagonal basalt columns, some weighing over 50 tons, stacked like logs without mortar. How did the Sordalor dynasty, who ruled here around the 12th century, move these monoliths across water and into place? Modern engineers still can't agree. The nearest basalt quarry is miles away, and the islands lack trees sturdy enough to use as rollers. Some legends say priests levitated the stones with chanting and sacred spells. Others whisper of a lost technology, forgotten to time. But Madol's strangeness doesn't end with its architecture. The city was a political and spiritual hub, ruled with an iron fist by the Sordalor's kings so feared. Their name literally translates to Lords of Deception. Stories passed down through generations tell of sorcerers who could summon storms, control tides, and curse dissenters with a glance. The island's isolation only fuels the mystery. Why build a capital in such a remote, inhospitable location? Some believe it was a deliberate choice, a place where rulers could wield power unseen, shielded by the ocean's vastness. Then there's the eerie silence that hangs over the ruins today. The canals, once bustling with canoes, are now choked with mangrove roots. The tomb of the first Sordalor king, a sealed vault said to glow with an unnatural light, has never been fully explored. Divers report strange currents around the site, as if the water itself resists intrusion. Even the local fishermen avoid the area after dark, claiming the spirits of the old rulers still walk the crumbling pathways. What happened to Madol is as puzzling as its origins. By the 16th century, the city was abandoned, its people scattered, its power broken. Some blame a rebellion against the Sordalor's tyranny. Others point to environmental collapse, overfishing, deforestation, or rising sea levels. But the most haunting theory, that the rulers' own dark practices brought ruin, their rituals upsetting a balance we still don't understand. Madol doesn't just challenge our ideas of history, it taunts them. Here, in the middle of nowhere, a civilization achieved the impossible, then vanished without explanation. The stones remain, mute and massive, as if waiting for someone to finally unravel their secrets. Until then, the city stands as a monument to humanity's strangest, most stubborn enigmas, proof that some mysteries refuse to stay buried even beneath the weight of centuries. The coast of Tamil Nadu hides a secret beneath its waves, one that blurs the line between legend and archaeology. When the tsunami of 2004 receded from Mahabalipuram, it exposed something extraordinary, the outlines of massive stone structures buried in the shallows. Local fishermen had long spoken of the 7 pagodas, a cluster of temples said to have been swallowed by the sea in a single cataclysmic night. Now, for the first time, the ocean had given up proof. Divers found lion statues half buried in sand, fragments of carved pillars, and the unmistakable remains of a horseshoe-shaped wall, all matching descriptions from ancient Pallava dynasty texts. What makes these ruins so compelling isn't just their age, around 1,200 years old, but their eerie alignment with flood myths. Tamil folklore describes a great city punished by the gods, its towering temples dragged underwater as waves rose like angry elephants. Historians once dismissed these stories as allegory, but the discovery of submerged structures just offshore forces us to reconsider. Were the myths exaggerations or eyewitness accounts? The ruins themselves add weight to the latter theory. One particular find, a stone relief of a rearing lion nearly identical to those still standing onshore, suggests the underwater complex was part of the same grand architectural vision, now split between land and sea. Shifting northwest to the Gulf of Combat, another Indian Ocean mystery waits Dwarka. According to Hindu scriptures, this was Lord Krishna's celestial city, built of gold and emerald before vanishing beneath the waves upon his death. In 2001, marine archaeologists mapping the seabed detected geometric patterns at depths of over 100 feet, rectangular foundations, pottery shards, and even what appeared to be a dockyard. Carbon dating of recovered artifacts sent shockwaves through the academic world. Some materials were possibly 9,000 years old, predating the Indus Valley civilization by millennia. The implications are staggering. If verified, Dwarka could rewrite the timeline of Indian urban development, proving sophisticated cities existed long before we thought possible. Skeptics argue the sonar images might show natural rock formations and point to contamination risks in dating submerged artifacts. But believers counter with physical evidence, including a stone anchor identical to those used in ancient Mediterranean ports, and a carved seal depicting a 3-headed animal mentioned in Krishna's legends. What ties these two sites together is more than geography, it's the persistent whisper of lost knowledge. At Mahabalipuram, the sea reveals fragments of a known dynasty, confirming oral histories we'd relegated to metaphor. At Dwarka, it hints at something far older, a civilization that might have inspired myths we still recite today. Both force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Our ancestors might have remembered more than we credited, their stories not just fanciful tales, but echoes of real cataclysms encoded in stone and scripture. Standing on either shore, you can't help but feel the weight of that possibility. The ocean here isn't just water. It's an archive holding pages of history we've only begun to read. And with every wave that retreats, it offers another clue, another chance to bridge the gap between what we think we know and what the depths remember. Of all the ocean's eerie mysteries, few are as unsettling as the SS Ourang Medan, a ghost ship whose story reads like a horror movie script. In June 1947, multiple vessels cruising the Strait of Malacca picked up a frantic SOS crackling over the radio. The message was chilling in its simplicity. All officers, including the captain, are dead, possibly entire crew deceased. Then, after a burst of static, a final, garbled phrase, "I die." What the rescue teams found when they boarded the Dutch freighter defied explanation. The crew lay sprawled across the deck, their faces frozen in expressions of sheer terror, eyes wide, mouths open as if mid-scream. Even the ship's dog was found lifeless, its body rigid, teeth bared in a permanent snarl. Strangest of all, no visible wounds, no signs of struggle, just death, swift and inexplicable. Then, as if the nightmare couldn't get worse, smoke began billowing from the hull. Rescue crews barely had time to retreat before the Ourang Medan erupted in a fireball so intense it reportedly left nothing but a stain of ash on the water's surface. No lifeboats were launched, no cargo was recovered, Just like that, the ship and its secrets vanished beneath the waves. So what could have caused such a nightmare? Scientists point to methane hydrates, volatile gas pockets trapped beneath the seafloor that can suddenly release, suffocating anyone nearby without a trace. The Strait of Malacca sits atop seismic zones where such leaks are possible, and methane is odorless, colorless, and deadly in high concentrations. But skeptics counter: wouldn't rescuers have smelled gas or noticed symptoms like nausea before death? Then there's the paranormal angle. Sailors in the region have long whispered about the Devil's Sea, a patch of water where compasses spin wildly and ships vanish without warning. Some claim the Ourang Medan was cursed, its crew killed by an otherworldly force, perhaps even the spirits of prisoners rumored to have died aboard during World War II when the ship allegedly transported chemical weapons. But the darkest theory involves a government experiment gone wrong. Declassified documents hint at post-war testing of nerve agents or radiological weapons, possibly stowed illegally aboard civilian vessels. Could the Ourang Medan have been carrying something so toxic it killed in seconds? With authorities sinking the evidence to avoid scandal, the truth may never surface. With no wreckage to examine and official records mysteriously missing, the Ourang Medan remains a ghost story without an ending, a reminder that sometimes the ocean doesn't just hide relics. It swallows secrets whole. When divers first spotted a cluster of stones standing upright beneath Lake Michigan's surface, it was like stumbling upon a secret the lake had kept for centuries. Just over 40 feet below the waves near Traverse City, a series of meticulously arranged boulders stretch in a near-perfect circle, some stacked atop each other with an eerie precision that screams this was no accident. The arrangement mirrors Stonehenge's iconic layout, except this one lies hidden beneath freshwater, far from the windswept plains of England. Even stranger. One of the larger stones bears a carving that looks unmistakably like a mastodon, an Ice Age giant that roamed North America over 10,000 years ago. So who built it? Geologists initially dismissed it as a quirk of glacial drift. Ice sheets retreating at the end of the last ice age could have dragged and deposited the stones in this formation. But the more researchers studied it, the shakier that theory became. The stones aren't randomly scattered, they're deliberately placed with smaller rocks wedged underneath larger ones to keep them level. Even more compelling, when archaeologists mapped the site, they noticed the formation aligns with the summer solstice sunrise, much like its British counterpart. That's not something glaciers are known for, calculating celestial events. The mastodon carving deepens the enigma. Mastodons went extinct in North America around 10,500 years ago, meaning if the carving is genuine and not a later addition, this underwater monument could predate Egypt's pyramids by millennia. Some researchers speculate it might be the work of the Paleo-Indians, nomadic hunter-gatherers whose traces are rare but occasionally surface in the Great Lakes region. Could these early peoples have had the knowledge and the motivation to create such a structure? Tribal oral histories from the area speak of star watchers among ancient ancestors, but physical evidence has always been scarce. Then there's the lake itself. Lake Michigan didn't exist in its current form when the mastodons roamed. It was a drier, tundra-like landscape. If the stones were placed on dry land, rising water levels would have submerged them slowly, preserving the site in stunning condition. That timeline fits with climatic shifts, but it also raises a haunting question. What else might be down there? The Great Lakes are littered with shipwrecks but submerged prehistoric sites. Those are far rarer and far more tantalizing. Diving at the site feels like trespassing on sacred ground. Sunlight filters dimly through the greenish water, casting long shadows across the stones. The mastodon's crude but unmistakable outline seems to watch from the depths, a silent guardian of secrets we're only beginning to decode. Whether it's a ceremonial site, an astronomical calendar, or something even older and stranger, one thing's certain: Lake Michigan Stonehenge refuses to fit neatly into any textbook. It's a puzzle wrapped in water and time, daring us to rethink who walked this land and what they knew long before the lakes even had names. The Geldermalsen wasn't just another shipwreck, it was a floating vault of history, packed so full of treasure that its discovery rewrote what we thought we knew about global trade. Sailing from Canton to Europe in 1752, this Dutch East India Company vessel met its fate on a reef in the South China Sea, taking with it a staggering 150,000 pieces of porcelain. For over 2 centuries, the wreck lay undisturbed, its cargo sealed beneath layers of sand and salt water until 1985, when British marine archaeologist Michael Hatcher stumbled upon what would become the most lucrative shipwreck recovery of its time. The haul was staggering: delicate blue and white tea bowls, intricate family rose vases, and gilded plates, each piece a masterpiece of Qing Dynasty craftsmanship. What made the Geldermalsen's cargo so extraordinary wasn't just its beauty, but its sheer volume. These weren't exotic one-offs destined for royal cabinets. They were mass-produced for a booming European market, proof of a consumer craze we'd now call China mania. Aristocrats and wealthy merchants couldn't get enough of porcelain's delicate translucence, far superior to the crude earthenware Europe produced. The wreck's inventory read like an IKEA catalogue of the 18th century: dinner services for 12, punch bowls for taverns, even chamber pots painted with peonies. But here's the twist: much of it was export ware, specially designed for Western tastes, with European coats of arms, biblical scenes, and even risque figurines that would have scandalized Chinese artisans. When the treasures finally hit auction at Christie's in 1986, the art world lost its collective mind. Bidders from 30 countries battled over lots, driving prices to astronomical heights. A single teacup sold for £20,000, more than some buyers' annual salaries. The frenzy wasn't just about wealth, it was a tangible connection to an era when porcelain was more precious than gold, when a single ship's cargo could sway entire economies. But the real revelation lay in the wreck's paperwork. Preserved invoices revealed clandestine trade routes, showing how Dutch merchants bypassed imperial restrictions by bribing Cantonese officials, smuggling goods through middlemen, and even disguising ships under false flags. The Geldermalsen's legacy isn't just in its porcelain, it's in the way it shattered myths about early globalization. Before its discovery, historians assumed China's trade with Europe was a trickle of luxury items. This wreck proved it was a roaring river, feeding a demand so insatiable that factories in Jingdezhen burned day and night to keep up. Yet the ship's fate also hints at the system's fragility. Overloaded with cargo, undercrewed, and racing to meet shareholder expectations, the Geldermalsen was a disaster waiting to happen, a stark reminder that even the mightiest trade empires could sink beneath the weight of their own ambition. Today, scattered across museums and private collections, these porcelain pieces are more than art. They're fragments of a story we're still piecing together. One where cultures collided, fortunes were made and lost, and an entire ocean became a highway for ideas as much as goods. And somewhere beneath those waves, who knows what other wrecks lie waiting, each holding clues to the messy, magnificent web of connections that shaped our world. The Titanic's sinking remains one of history's most infamous tragedies, but buried beneath the layers of grief and heroism lies a bizarre conspiracy that sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi thriller. The claim that the ship was secretly transporting an extraterrestrial mummy in a sealed sarcophagus. According to fringe theorists, this wasn't just any artifact, it was the preserved remains of a being not of this world, a relic so controversial that its recovery was hushed up by shadowy organizations. The story gained traction in the 1990s, fueled by tabloid headlines and cryptic references in declassified documents mentioning unusual cargo aboard the ill-fated liner. Some even allege that the real reason the Titanic sank was sabotage, an attempt to prevent this otherworldly secret from reaching powerful hands. But where did this outlandish idea come from? The roots trace back to an obscure 19th century collector named William Stead, a journalist and spiritualist who supposedly owned an Egyptian sarcophagus rumored to carry a curse. Stead, who famously perished on the Titanic, was said to have smuggled the artifact aboard, though ship manifests list no such item. Conspiracy theorists latched onto this absence as proof of a cover-up, weaving in threads of occult symbolism, like the ship's designer Thomas Andrews allegedly dabbling in esoteric rituals. The myth snowballed with claims that salvagers in the 1980s found a black metallic casket amid the wreckage, only for it to vanish into military custody. Skeptics, of course, have dismantled every piece of this tale. Maritime historians point out that the Titanic's cargo hold was meticulously documented, with no record of antiquities, let alone a mummy. The so-called cursed sarcophagus tied to Stead was likely a fabrication, conflating his interest in the paranormal with Egyptian revival trends of the era. As for the alien angle that seems borrowed from Roswell-era UFO lore, grafted onto the Titanic's drama for added mystique, even the alleged salvage operation falls apart under scrutiny. No credible dive team has ever reported such a find, and the wreck's depth makes clandestine recovery nearly impossible. Yet what's fascinating isn't the myth's validity, but why it persists. The Titanic represents humanity's hubris, a supposedly unsinkable ship brought low by nature's indifference. Tossing an alien mummy into the mix transforms the story into something darker, a cosmic twist where the disaster wasn't just tragic but intentional. It's a narrative that thrives on the gaps in history, filling them with whispers of curses, conspiracies, and creatures beyond our understanding. Whether it's the allure of forbidden knowledge or our collective love of a good mystery, the alien mummy theory reminds us that some legends don't just sink. They float, buoyed by our endless fascination with the unknown. Not all ocean relics whisper their secrets. Some, like Blackbeard's Queen Anne's Revenge, roar with them. Discovered in 1996 just off the coast of North Carolina, the wreck of history's most feared pirate ship wasn't just a pile of timber and rusted nails. It was a time capsule of terror packed with artifacts that paint a vivid and surprisingly sophisticated portrait of 18th century piracy. The vessel started its life as a French slave ship before Blackbeard seized it in 1717, transforming it into a floating fortress armed with 40 cannons. But what makes this wreck so extraordinary isn't just its infamous captain. It's the everyday objects that survived 3 centuries underwater, each one a clue to the brutal, calculated world of Golden Age piracy. Take the ship's bell, recovered in 2001. Etched with the date 1705, it's one of the few artifacts that definitively ties the wreck to Blackbeard's fleet. Then there's the assortment of weapons, muskets with bayonets still affixed, lead shot packed tightly in canvas bags, even a rare granado, a hollow iron ball filled with gunpowder and scrap metal designed to shred enemy decks. These weren't the tools of mindless thugs, they were the instruments of psychological warfare. Blackbeard knew fear was his greatest weapon, and every rusted blade and cannonball recovered confirms it. But perhaps the most revealing finds are the medical tools. Among the wreckage, archaeologists uncovered a urethral syringe, used to treat syphilis, along with mercury jars and glass vials that once held medicinal compounds. This wasn't just a pirate ship, it was a floating hospital, evidence that Blackbeard prioritized crew health to maintain his reign of terror. Even the smallest artifacts tell a story: a toothbrush made of bone, a delicate pewter dinner plate, and gold flakes found nestled in the barrel of a cannon, likely used to pay off corrupt officials or bribe prisoners. The wreck's final moments are frozen in the debris field. Cannons lie scattered, some still loaded, as if the crew abandoned them mid-battle. Anchors were hastily cut loose, suggesting a desperate attempt to escape shallow waters, a tactic that failed when the ship ran aground in 1718. Some historians believe Blackbeard intentionally wrecked the Queen Anne's Revenge to downsize his crew and keep more treasure for himself. others argue it was a navigational error, the result of a drunken captain pushing his luck. Either way, the ship's skeleton offers grim testimony to piracy's fleeting power. No matter how fearsome the legend, the sea always has the last word. Diving at the site today, you can almost hear the echoes of that chaos, the shouts of men, the thunder of cannons, the creak of wood giving way to the waves. Every artifact pulled from the sand forces us to rethink the Hollywood image of pirates as reckless outlaws. These were shrewd strategists, men who built floating empires and terrified nations until the ocean, indifferent to their infamy, swallowed them whole. The Queen Anne's Revenge isn't just a relic, it's a reckoning. The Atlantic Ocean holds more than sunken treasure. It guards the rusting hulks of history's deadliest war machines, their secrets still half buried in silt and shadow. Off the coasts of the United States alone, over 60 Nazi U-boats litter the seabed, silent witnesses to a campaign of terror most don't realize reached American shores. During Operation Drumbeat in 1942, German submarines patrolled just miles from bustling cities like New York and Miami, sinking hundreds of Allied vessels in plain sight of beachgoers. But it's what these U-boats might have carried that fuels speculation. Rumors persist that some were transporting looted gold, art, or even occult relics plundered by the Third Reich. One submarine in particular, U-534, vanished off North Carolina with its crew and whispers of stolen Nazi treasure. Divers who have explored these wrecks describe eerie scenes, swastikas still visible on conning towers, torpedo tubes gaping open, and personal effects like porcelain dishes stamped with eagle insignias preserved in the cold darkness. Then there's the darker legacy lurking beneath the waves: nuclear weapons lost in the chaos of the Cold War. In 1950, a B-36 bomber carrying an atomic bomb crashed into the Pacific off British Columbia after an engine fire. The bomb's plutonium core was never found. 8 years later, another bomber collided with a fighter jet near Savannah, Georgia, sending a hydrogen bomb into Wassaw Sound. Though the Pentagon insists its uranium was recovered, locals swear the weapon's more volatile components remain buried in the marsh, the most chilling case. 1968, when a Soviet submarine carrying nuclear-tipped torpedoes sank near Hawaii, taking its radioactive cargo to depths no one has dared to probe. What ties these relics together isn't just their wartime origins, it's the unsettling question of what might still be down there. Could corroding U-boat hulls leak toxic mercury from their batteries, or worse, unsecured uranium from forgotten experiments? Are those missing nukes truly inert or ticking environmental time bombs? The ocean doesn't give up its secrets easily. Every attempt to retrieve these hazards risks disturbing grave sites or triggering diplomatic incidents, leaving governments to quietly monitor the wrecks while hoping the sea keeps its grip. Standing on a beach at twilight, watching the waves roll in, it's a strange thought. Somewhere out there, beneath the same water, lie weapons powerful enough to burn cities and treasures valuable enough to buy them. The ocean swallowed them whole, as if warning us that some chapters of history are better left unopened. But the water won't hide them forever. With each passing year, rust weakens steel, currents shift sand, and what was lost drifts closer to the light. We already touched on the Antikythera Mechanism earlier, but here's the twist: researchers now believe this ancient computer might be just the tip of a technological iceberg lost to history. Recent high-resolution scans and advanced imaging techniques have revealed even more complexity hidden within its corroded bronze fragments. Tiny inscriptions, previously unreadable, contain detailed instructions on how to operate the device, along with references to celestial events that wouldn't be accurately predicted again for centuries. But the biggest bombshell: some of the gear ratios bear a striking resemblance to designs attributed to none other than Archimedes himself, the legendary Greek mathematician said to have built planetariums so advanced Romans plundered them as war trophies. Could this mechanism be a descendant of Archimedes' lost inventions? Ancient texts describe him crafting a sphere that mirrored the motions of the heavens, a device so prized that when Roman general Marcellus sacked Syracuse, he took only two things for himself: artworks and Archimedes' mysterious celestial machine. Historians have long debated whether these descriptions were exaggerations, but the Antikythera Mechanism proves such technology existed. Even more tantalizing, Cicero wrote of seeing a similar device in Rome, which showed the motions of the sun, moon, and planets. If these weren't one-of-a-kind marvels but part of a broader tradition, how many others lie undiscovered in shipwrecks or buried in archives? The implications are staggering. We tend to think of ancient technology as primitive, but the Antikythera Mechanism's precision engineering, its differential gears, weren't reinvented until the 19th century, suggests a lineage of knowledge that didn't survive. Maybe its creators weren't outliers but heirs to a technical sophistication we've underestimated. Consider this: the device's eclipse predictions relied on Babylonian astronomical data centuries older than itself, hinting at a vast, interconnected web of scientific exchange stretching across empires and eras. Here's the haunting question: if this one device survived by sheer chance, what else vanished? Roman Emperor Claudius reportedly built a working model of Atlantis. Hero of Alexandria designed steam-powered automata. How much was lost when libraries burned or when practical engineering was dismissed as mere tinkering by elite scholars? The Antikythera Mechanism isn't just a relic, it's a wake-up call. Somewhere beneath the Mediterranean's silt or tucked away in an overlooked manuscript, there could be more machines waiting to rewrite history. After all, we only found this one because a ship sank. Imagine what else the ocean or time might still be hiding. The debate over Yonaguni's underwater monument hasn't cooled. If anything, recent expeditions have only poured fuel on the fire. In 2022, a team of marine archaeologists equipped with cutting-edge three-dimensional mapping technology returned to the site, capturing details previous divers had missed. Their scans revealed what appear to be tool marks on certain stone surfaces, precise, straight grooves that geologists struggle to explain as natural erosion. One particularly striking discovery was a series of evenly spaced holes along a terraced wall, resembling sockets where wooden beams might have once been anchored. If human hands carved these features, it would rewrite not just Japan's history, but our entire understanding of prehistoric engineering. Yet the scientific community remains sharply divided. Dr. Robert Skock, a geologist famous for redating the Sphinx, insists Yonaguni's formations are classic examples of sheet jointing, where sandstone naturally fractures along parallel planes due to tectonic stress. He points to similar structures above water on Japan's coastlines, where waves and weathering create uncanny geometric shapes. But archaeologists like Professor Masaki Kimura counter with cultural evidence, carved symbols found nearby on land that mirror patterns seen in Okinawan ruins from the Jomon period. Nature doesn't create staircases with uniform treads, Kimura argues, holding up a stone tablet recovered from the shallows bearing a spiral motif found in Jomon pottery. The monument's cultural footprint extends far beyond academic journals. Local legends speak of Nurai Kanai, a mythical paradise beneath the waves where gods bestowed knowledge upon ancient islanders. Fishermen have passed down stories for generations of a great city swallowed by the sea after its rulers angered the ocean spirits. Today, Yonaguni's residents embrace the site as both a spiritual landmark and a source of pride every year. The island hosts a festival where dancers reenact the legend of the Sunken Kingdom, their costumes adorned with motifs eerily similar to the monument's angles. What's often overlooked is the site's potential age. If man-made, the structure would date back at least 10,000 years, placing it in the same enigmatic category as Göbekli Tepe, a time when humans were supposedly nomadic hunter-gatherers. This timeline clashes with mainstream archaeology, but artifacts pulled from nearby waters add weight to the argument. stone tools, charred animal bones, and even a pottery shard with carbonized residue suggest human activity in the area when sea levels were nearly 400 feet lower. Could Yonaguni be the remnant of a coastal settlement lost to rising oceans? The most haunting theory comes from marine biologist Graham Hancock, who proposes the monument might be part of a vast, interconnected complex. Recent sonar surveys have identified strange anomalies along the underwater ridge stretching toward Taiwan, rectangular depressions that could be collapsed chambers, and circular patterns resembling foundation rings. If proven, it would imply not just a lone structure, but an entire submerged network waiting for technology advanced enough to reveal its full scope. For now, Yonaguni remains a riddle wrapped in currents and folklore. Whether it's a masterpiece of natural forces or a relic of a forgotten civilization, its power lies in the questions it forces us to ask. Every dive stirs new debates, every scan chips away at our assumptions, and every local legend whispers that some truths might linger just beyond reach, hidden where the light barely touches. When scientists finally got their hands on metal samples from the Baltic Sea anomaly, the results were anything but ordinary. Lab tests revealed traces of limonite and goethite, minerals typically linked to ancient shipwrecks or volcanic activity, yet neither explanation fit this puzzle. The deeper they dug, the stranger it got. Some samples contained unusual ratios of titanium and manganese, metals rarely found together in natural seabed formations. Researchers even identified microscopic structures resembling metallic fibers, sparking wild theories about engineered materials. Of course, skeptics were quick to dismiss the findings, arguing that glacial movements could have dragged industrial scrap metal, like old ship propellers or wartime debris, into the area. But here's the catch: the Baltic's cold, low-oxygen waters preserve metal unusually well, yet these fragments showed odd corrosion patterns, almost as if they'd been subjected to extreme heat or energy. Then there's the eerie phenomenon divers can't ignore. Every expedition to the anomaly reports equipment glitches, underwater cameras flicker to static, compasses spin uncontrollably, and sonar readings distort into nonsensical patterns. Some divers describe an unsettling pull, as if the structure itself generates a localized electromagnetic field. Engineers initially blamed the Baltic's brackish water, which can interfere with electronics, but the malfunctions only happen within a precise radius of the object. Even surface vessels report temporary GPS blackouts when directly overhead. One theory points to concentrated deposits of magnetite, a naturally magnetic mineral, but no known geological formation behaves this intensely. Others whisper about man-made experiments. Could this be a sunken Nazi device designed to scramble Allied radar, lost and forgotten after the war, or something far older, its purpose erased from history? The most tantalizing clue comes from a declassified Swedish military report from the 1980s, which noted unexplained magnetic disturbances in the same grid coordinates. Coincidence, maybe, but when you pair that with eyewitness accounts from fishermen in the area, stories of strange lights beneath the waves dating back to the 1930s, it's hard to shake the feeling that this anomaly has been doing something for a very long time. Whether it's a geological oddity, a fragment of forgotten technology, or something beyond our current understanding, one thing's certain: the Baltic Sea isn't giving up its secrets easily. Every answer dredged from those murky depths only leads to darker, deeper questions. Beneath the turquoise waters off Java's northern coast, a secret lies half buried in the sand, a cluster of stone temples so perfectly preserved they look like they were lowered into the ocean yesterday. Discovered by local fishermen in the 1980s, these submerged Hindu shrines stretch across the seafloor near Troulan, their intricate carvings still crisp despite centuries underwater. What makes them extraordinary isn't just their beauty, but their age. Carbon dating suggests they could predate Borobudur, Indonesia's famed 9th century Buddhist monument, by hundreds of years. That timeline alone raises haunting questions. Who built these shrines and how did they end up beneath the waves? The temple's architecture offers tantalizing clues. Carved reliefs depict deities like Shiva and Vishnu alongside symbols of the Nusantara kingdom, a Hindu-Buddhist civilization that once dominated the region. But the real shock came when divers uncovered fragments of pottery and inscriptions mentioning a catastrophic event, a mountain that spat fire and waves that swallowed the land. Geological records confirm this wasn't just poetic metaphor. Around the 13th century, the nearby Mount Semeru erupted violently, triggering tsunamis that reshaped Java's coastline. Sediment cores from the site show a thick layer of volcanic ash directly beneath the temple ruins, as if the seafloor itself holds a receipt for their destruction. Yet there's a twist. Some structures appear deliberately placed underwater, their foundations built to withstand currents. This has led researchers to speculate, were these shrines always meant to be submerged? Ancient Javanese texts describe water temples where rituals honored the ocean spirits, and local folklore speaks of priests who communed with deities in sacred underwater chambers. Could these ruins be the physical remains of that tradition? The evidence is tantalizing. One shrine's central altar aligns precisely with the sunrise during the summer solstice, its steps leading down into the depths, an invitation or perhaps a warning. The mystery deepens when you consider what hasn't been found. Unlike typical sunken cities, these temples lack everyday debris, no collapsed houses, no scattered tools. It's as if they existed in isolation, their purpose purely spiritual. Marine archaeologists have even noted something eerie about the marine life here. Fish avoid the inner chambers, clustering only around the outer walls. Divers joke about temple guardians, but oceanographers point to subtle methane seeps in the area, which might create dead zones unsettling to aquatic life. What happened here? The most compelling theory blends geology and legend. The temples may have stood near a sacred spring or estuary, revered for its connection to the underworld. When seismic activity shifted the land, water rushed in either as punishment or fulfillment of a prophecy. Today, diving among these ruins feels like trespassing in a place where time and tide conspired to hide something profound. The stones seem to whisper that not all drownings are accidents, some are destiny. The SS Waratah wasn't just another ship lost to the sea, it was a vessel that seemed to carry its own doom from the very beginning. When it set sail from Durban in July 1909, bound for Cape Town with 211 souls aboard, no one could have predicted it would become one of history's most haunting maritime mysteries. But the signs were there if anyone had cared to look. Passengers later recalled an unsettling list to the ship even in calm waters, as if it were top-heavy or poorly balanced. One woman, Clara Germana, allegedly begged her husband to disembark after a nightmare of the ship, swallowed by a mountain of water. He dismissed her fears until the Waratah vanished without a trace, leaving behind only eerie radio silence and a legacy of unanswered questions. Theories about its fate range from the scientifically plausible to the chillingly supernatural. Maritime experts point to the wild coast of South Africa, notorious for rogue waves, walls of water up to 100 feet tall that can snap a ship in half. The Waratah's design, with its high superstructure and narrow beam, might have made it especially vulnerable. Then there's the boiler explosion theory. Survivors from another ship reported hearing a distant thunderclap the night the Waratah disappeared, though no wreckage ever surfaced to confirm it. But the most spine-tingling accounts come from those who claim the ship was cursed from the start. Crew members whispered about strange noises below deck's metallic groans when no machinery was running, footsteps in empty corridors. Even the ship's namesake, the Waratah flower, was considered bad luck by some sailors, its crimson petals symbolizing bloodshed. What makes the Waratah's story so compelling isn't just its disappearance, but the relentless quest to find it. Over the decades, sonar scans have picked up tantalizing shadows on the seabed. a debris field near the Kay River, a hulk buried under silt near East London. Yet every expedition ends the same way, with frustration and fresh rumors. In 1999, a salvage team claimed to detect a large metallic object at depths of over 600 feet, but rough seas forced them to abandon the dive. Another search in 2004 turned up a 19th-century anchor, deepening the mystery instead of solving it. The most haunting detail, a handful of letters recovered from the Waratah's sister ship, written by passengers who'd switched voyages at the last minute. One included a chilling line: "This ship feels wrong, like it's already gone." Whether it was a rogue wave, a boiler's fury, or something far stranger, the Waratah took its secrets to the grave, or rather to the abyss. And there, in the crushing dark, they remain, whispering to those who dare to listen. The Black Sea holds one of the ocean's most surreal secrets, an actual river, complete with flowing water, submerged trees, and even waterfalls, all hidden beneath its waves. This isn't some myth or metaphor. It's a scientific marvel known as a submarine channel, formed by dense, salt-saturated currents carving through lighter freshwater like an underwater avalanche. Picture this: a winding riverbed snaking across the seabed, its currents strong enough to topple trees and shape cliffs, all while fish dart through what looks like an upside-down forest. The phenomenon occurs where the Mediterranean's salty waters spill through the Bosporus Strait, sinking to the Black Sea's anoxic depths, where oxygen is so scarce it acts as a natural preservative. This eerie environment creates what marine archaeologists call a time capsule effect. Shipwrecks resting in these depths don't rot away, they're pickled. Wooden hulls that would have crumbled to dust centuries ago in other oceans remain startlingly intact here, their masts still standing, cargo holds filled with unbroken pottery, even ropes and sails frozen in time. One such wreck, a Byzantine merchant vessel dating back over 1,200 years, was found with its tiller still lashed to the rudder, as if the crew had just stepped away. But the real magic lies in the details: amphorae sealed with ancient olive oil, leather sandals left on deck, even a ship's cat skeleton curled near the galley. These aren't just artifacts, they're snapshots of daily life, preserved by the river's salty embrace. Yet the underwater river isn't just a curator of history, it's an active, violent force. Side-scan sonar reveals debris fields where currents have ripped ships apart, scattering timbers like matchsticks. Other vessels sit eerily upright, as if gently placed on the seabed by some unseen hand. The difference: density. Heavier ships sink into the brine pool's viscous layer, while lighter wrecks float atop it, suspended in a liquid limbo. Even the river's waterfalls are deadly, where channels drop sharply. Plunging currents create whirlpools powerful enough to drag modern research equipment into the abyss. What makes this phenomenon so haunting is its duality. It gives and takes, preserving lives long gone while swallowing others without a trace. Divers describe the sensation of floating over the river's edge as surreal, one moment in clear, buoyant water, the next hovering over a murky, swirling undercurrent that feels like peering into another world. And perhaps it is. The Black Sea's underwater river isn't just a scientific curiosity. It's a reminder that the ocean holds landscapes as varied and alive as those on land, each with its own rules, its own mysteries. Every shipwreck here is a message in a bottle, waiting for the right explorer to decipher its story. Stories the river guards fiercely, but might one day reluctantly give up. The legend of the Library of Alexandria has taunted historians for centuries, a repository of ancient knowledge so vast, its destruction has been called one of history's greatest cultural tragedies. But what if fragments of that lost wisdom didn't burn? What if they slipped beneath the waves, waiting to be rediscovered? Recent expeditions along Egypt's Mediterranean coast have turned up tantalizing clues that the library's legacy might not be entirely gone, just submerged. Beneath the murky waters near Alexandria's ancient harbor, divers have mapped a labyrinth of limestone caves and tunnels, some lined with the remnants of shelves and storage niches. These aren't just random geological formations. Their precise, grid-like layouts match descriptions of the library's annexes where overflow scrolls were kept. In 2010, a team using advanced ground-penetrating sonar detected anomalies in one submerged cavern organic material that doesn't match typical marine sediment. The shape cylindrical, about the size of a rolled papyrus. Could these be waterlogged scrolls, their ink long dissolved but their fibers still clinging together after 2,000 years? The challenges are immense. Saltwater and time are brutal archivists. Papyrus disintegrates rapidly when submerged, and even if scrolls survived, their texts would likely be illegible. But there's a twist. Some of these caves are nestled in oxygen-poor zones where the lack of microbial activity could slow decay. And then there's the Heracleion precedent carbonized scrolls from Italy's Vesuvius eruption, once thought unreadable, are now being deciphered using high-energy X-rays. If a few Alexandrian scrolls were sealed in pottery or metal cases, could they have endured? The most compelling evidence comes from an unexpected source: shipwrecks. Nearby, archaeologists have uncovered Roman vessels carrying empty, labeled scroll cases, some stamped with markings linking them to the library's famed daughter branch at the Temple of Serapis. These ships may have been part of a desperate evacuation as the library's downfall loomed, their precious cargo lost en route to safer shores. One wreck even held a peculiar lead-lined box, its interior lined with wax, a crude but effective waterproofing method for transporting sensitive documents. The box was empty, but its existence hints at a frantic effort to preserve knowledge as the city burned. Modern technology offers a glimmer of hope. Hyperspectral imaging can detect trace chemicals in cave walls, potentially revealing where ink-soaked scrolls once rested. Meanwhile, AI algorithms sift through sonar data, flagging shapes that human eyes might miss. It's a long shot, but as one researcher put it, we're not just looking for scrolls. We're looking for the ghost of an idea, proof that someone tried to save them. The dream, of course, is finding a single intact text, a lost play by Sophocles, an unknown volume of Aristotle, or perhaps even the library's own catalogue, a map to everything we've forgotten. But even if the caves yield nothing, the search itself changes us. It's a reminder that history isn't always gone. Sometimes it's just buried, waiting for the right moment and the right hands to bring it back to light. Deep in the waters off Costa Rica's Isla del Coño, divers have stumbled upon something that shouldn't be there: massive, perfectly spherical stones resting silently on the ocean floor. These aren't just random boulders, they're eerily precise, some measuring over 6 feet in diameter, with surfaces so smooth they seem almost polished. And they're not alone. Hundreds of similar orbs dot the landscape inland, scattered across jungle clearings and riverbeds, all tied to the enigmatic WWII culture that flourished here over 1,000 years ago. The real mystery: no one knows how or why they were made. The WWII crafted these spheres with a precision that defies their era. Using only stone tools, they somehow shaped granite and gabbro, some of the hardest rocks on Earth, into near-perfect spheres with deviations of less than 2 centimeters in diameter. Just transporting them would have been a Herculean task. Many weigh over 15 tons, yet they're found miles from the nearest quarries. But the underwater discoveries add another layer of intrigue. Some spheres lie half-buried in sediment, as if placed there deliberately, while others cluster in geometric patterns that mirror celestial alignments. Could these have been more than decorative? Archaeologists point to their alignment with solstices and equinoxes, suggesting they might have functioned as a colossal astronomical calendar, tracking seasons for agriculture or rituals. Yet not everyone's convinced. Local legends speak of the spheres as gifts from the gods' talismans meant to ward off evil spirits or symbols of power for tribal chiefs. One indigenous oral tradition claims the orbs were once seeds of the stars, fallen to earth to guide their ancestors. Even wilder theories suggest extraterrestrial involvement, fueled by the sphere's uncanny resemblance to modern ball bearings and their presence in locations with no clear practical purpose. Skeptics counter that erosion or seismic activity could explain their smoothness, but that doesn't account for their deliberate placement or the WWII's own artifacts depicting the spheres in ceremonial context. The underwater finds amplify the debate. Unlike their land-based counterparts, the submerged spheres show minimal erosion preserved by the ocean's stillness. This has led some researchers to propose they marked sacred sites, perhaps portals to the underworld in WWII's cosmology, or even navigational aids for coastal trade. But here's the twist: many are clustered near fault lines, raising the possibility they were swallowed by the sea during earthquakes, their original significance lost to time. What's undeniable is their cultural weight. The WWII's left no written records, but their spheres endure as silent witnesses to a civilization that mastered geometry, astronomy, and stonework long before European contact. Whether they're celestial maps, sacred objects, or something beyond our understanding, their perfection haunts us. Standing before one, you can't help but feel the presence of minds as brilliant as they were mysterious minds that shaped stone into poetry, then left the rest for us to decipher. And who knows, maybe the ocean, ever the keeper of secrets, still hides more of these orbs, waiting to tilt the scales of history once again. From the Antikythera Mechanism's clockwork genius to the silent, staring corpses aboard the Ourang Medan, these 25 relics prove one thing beyond doubt: the ocean guards more secrets than we'll ever fully unravel. Each discovery peels back a layer of history only to reveal deeper questions. Who crafted Lake Michigan's Stonehenge with mastodons still roaming the land? Why does Yonaguni's monument mimic civilizations separated by continents? And what unseen force snuffed out an entire crew in seconds, leaving their terror etched in rigor mortis? We're left with fragments, gears without manuals, temples without worshippers, stories without endings. This isn't just about lost treasure or sunken cities. It's about humility. For every relic we've salvaged, 100 more wait in the dark, their existence hinted at in sonar ghosts and fishermen's tales. The ocean doesn't give up its secrets easily. It taunts us with glimpses: a scrap of gold here, a mysterious hum there, reminding us that history isn't a tidy timeline but a mosaic of forgotten brilliance and inexplicable tragedy. So tell me, which relic haunts your imagination? The Baltic's electromagnetic enigma, Blackbeard's cannons still loaded for a battle that never came? Drop your theories in the comments. Let's crowdsource the past like a global detective agency, because here's the thrilling part: we're just getting started. With every advance in underwater robotics, every new sweep of the seabed, we're inching closer to the next revelation. Maybe it's a library's worth of scrolls preserved in some anoxic trench. Maybe it's a machine that makes the Antikythera look like child's play. Or maybe, just maybe, it's something we haven't even dreamed of yet. One thing's certain: the ocean isn't done with us. So stay curious, stay skeptical, and keep your eyes on the horizon, because the next great discovery, it's out there right now, waiting for the tides to shift, for the sand to part, waiting to rewrite everything we thought we knew. The depths have spoken before, and they'll speak again.